Hi everyone. Today we're going to go over video 2, which is in a series of 6 for the UIS IRB application. This video is going to cover the first page of the application, which we're currently on, and then sections 1 through 2. So on this first page, the first thing you might notice is where it says IRB number, and underneath that in red it says IRB use only. But underneath of that, it says RPI last name, which is where you'll list your last name. And then under that, it says project title, which is where you'll want to list the title of your study. So under that information, you'll first see guidelines for completing this form. The first guideline asks that you please submit typed applications via email to ora@uis.edu, which is hyperlinked. Please keep in mind that we do not accept handwritten forms and hard copy forms. The next guideline says answer all questions. For items and questions that do not apply to the research, please just indicate that as quote unquote not applicable. The third guideline says provide information for all other items clearly and avoid using discipline specific jargon. So in other words, please write in layman's terms. And then finally, please only include text in the provided text box or text boxes. They'll expand as needed to accommodate larger amounts of text. Underneath the guidelines, you'll notice that it says before submitting this application, check or initial each completed task. So in other words, there's a checklist under here. And ideally, once you've completed the application, you'll want to go back through and mark each item off to ensure that you've completed everything for the application, as well as some of the preliminary work, such as completing the city training, for example. So that covers our first page. As you scroll down, you finally get to section 1. So section 1 is where you'll enter information about the responsible principal investigator, also known as the RPI. And if you need to, you'll list the responsible research supervisor, also known as the RRS. So for the responsible principal investigator information, it's really just basic information about you. So the first item asks you for your last name. So I've put my last name here, and then next to that, it'll ask you for your first name, which I've indicated here. Once you've entered your last and first names, you'll need to enter your degree level. So the highest degree I have is a master's, and I've indicated that here as MA. So if you're a faculty member, you may have an MA also or an MS, but you might also have a PhD, an EdD, a DPA, whatever the highest level of education you have, you'll want to list that here. Underneath that, to the left-hand side, it asks for your department or unit. So I've listed my office here, which is the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, but you'll obviously want to put whatever's appropriate for you. If you're a student, you'll want to list the department that's overseeing, that the faculty member is a part of that's overseeing your study. Next to that, it asks for your office address. So I've listed mine here. Underneath of that, to the left-hand side, it asks for a street address. I've gone ahead and used UIS's street address, which everyone is welcome to do. So I've put 1 University Plaza. Next to that, for the city, obviously we're in Springfield. For the state, Illinois, and then zip code 62703. Underneath of all that, you'll want to list your phone number. So I've put my office phone here. You're welcome to put your office phone. You can put your cell phone if you prefer, but office phone works just fine. And to be honest, for this last item, which is your email address, that's primarily how we'll probably be corresponding anyway. So I've gone ahead and put the office email address here. You're welcome to put your personal email address or your work email address, whatever you respond to the fastest. Underneath of that, it asks you for your UIS campus status. So if you're a faculty member, you want to indicate that. If you're an academic professional or staff, you'll want to indicate that in this box next to faculty. If you're a visiting faculty or staff member, you'll want to indicate that in this third box. Or if you're a student, you'll want to indicate that in this final box. Since I'm a staff member and a full-time one, I've indicated this box right here. That's in between faculty and visiting faculty, visiting staff. Underneath of that, it'll ask you for your city training. So I've marked the required city training, and then it'll ask you for your date of completion. I didn't actually fill that in, but you'll want to put the day and the date that you've completed it. So for example, if we entered today's date, it would be 7/26/2022. So that's the date you'll want to enter. And if you have any additional training, you can list that here too. Now, if you're a student, you'll have completed this part, but your supervisor, also known again as the Responsible Research Supervisor or RRS, so in other words, the faculty member who's overseeing your project, they'll need to fill this box out, and it's literally the same exact text box as above. So it'll just ask for their last name, first name, degree level, department, office address, so on and so forth. And then for section 2, this may not be applicable to everyone, but if you have a research team, you'll want to fill this section out. So for item 2A, it asks, are there other investigators engaged in the research? For this sample IRB application, I'm the solo researcher, so I've indicated no. But if I did have other investigators, I would indicate yes, which means I'd be required to include a research team form, which you can find on our website. For item 2B, it says, if yes, are any of the researchers not affiliated with the University of Illinois? I've put no since I'm not working with anyone, but if you are working with someone from UIS, you would still put no. But if you are working with people outside of the university, you'd put yes. And then for 2C, it asks you for your project type. And there's several options here. For example, your first option is master's project/thesis. The second option is faculty research. Third option, sponsored research. Underneath those three items, the fourth one is student research. The fifth one is doctorate research or thesis. And then underneath that, which is on the following page, is other. That's what I've indicated since I'm a staff member, and I've put staff research where it says please specify. So whatever seems to be the right category for you, you'll want to mark that. So if you're a student, for example, you might be an undergrad student, so you may be doing student research. If you're a grad student, you might be working on your master's thesis, or if you're a doctoral student, you might be working on your dissertation. If you're a faculty member, then you'll want to list either faculty research, or if it's being funded, then sponsored research. All right, so that concludes this video. In the next video, we'll go over section 3, which is the protocol/study design.